Hello, my name is Vickie Horne, and this presentation is about a flipped classroom. A flipped classroom is, it's reverse. Reverse where traditional homework and lecture take place. Why flip? And a lot of educators may ask, why? Why would you flip? There's a couple of reasons to consider. In a flipped classroom, the content becomes available to students beyond a typical classroom time. And students are now able to access content basically anytime. There's benefits. The benefits come with viewing content in a video format. The students are able to learn and relearn and have the ability to stop, pause, play, etc. Students can write down questions when they're at home, when they're viewing their video format content. And then when the students enter the classroom, they're already prepared to ask these questions to their teacher. When the teacher flips the classroom, it allows the teacher to walk around the room, ultimately flipping the classroom, freeing up time to work with each student individually for their needs. Let's consider and think how our students are used to acquiring knowledge. Today's students, they learn from various ways. But let's face it, the students today are learning from their phones and their computers. The students of today are comfortable with the flipped model because that's how they usually access knowledge. Consider that we know that some students learn faster than others. And when you know this, you know that some students learn faster than others, and then flipping a classroom allows a teacher to personalize the learning. And when you consider a flipped classroom model, you look at instructional approaches, of course, which students do activities such as listen to or watch recorded lectures on video format and or demonstrations. Then they come to class and they do hands-on methods and apply what they've learned from their pre-class presentation, pre-class videos or activities. The Flipped Learning Network is known as FLN. It is a free online resource that teachers may join to get access to a wealth of classroom materials, a wealth of lesson ideas, as well as growing community of teaching flippers. The FLN Research Committee acquired a report in 2013. The flipping learning activities must have 4 features, 4 pillars to be successful in a flipped classroom model. The 4 pillars of flip is number 1, flexible learning environment. This is how teachers allow for flexibility in learning and assessment timelines, and that they measure progress in ways that are most meaningful for them and for their students. Number 2 is a learning culture shift. The learning culture shift regards a transition from an objectivist principle to more of a constructivist one. From students as passive receivers of knowledge, and the teacher as sort of a sage on the stage, to students' active involvement in choosing their own learning and assessment paths. It's scaffolding from what the students already know to a higher level. a higher level of skills. Intentional content is number 3. This is where teachers must continually analyze content for what should be in the videos as opposed to classroom activities. Depending on the grade level and topic, they select instructional methods such as problem-based learning, otherwise known as PBL, problem-based learning, mastery learning, or Socratic methods. Now, number 4 is professional educators. Vitally important. Finally, this pillar calls for acknowledgement of the indispensable role of teachers and asserts that professional educators are reflective and collaborative and know how to accept criticism that ultimately improves their practice. The FLN shares. They share tips. They say start small. Get parents to be on board. Get parents to buy in before beginning the project. It's very important to teach students how to watch the videos for instructional purposes only. No fooling around, Watch the videos for instructional purposes. And ultimately, it's important to have an effective use of the FaceTime. Examples of a successful flipped classroom could be perhaps science teachers, perhaps an anatomy course, as you see in this photo, sort of an x-ray vision of a human. It could be something like this, where science teachers have in-class assistants to individualize students as they solve challenging scientific problems and do hands-on scientific activities. They watch the videos at home to learn further in those things that perhaps were too complicated to learn during the in-class assistance. Another one is physical education teachers. Physical education teachers might have students actually do the movements they reviewed before class time. The flipped classroom. Usually, flipping videos have a time limit. It's usually 5 to 8 minutes, max 15 minutes. Though they may be shorter or slightly longer, depending on the grade level. The maximum recommended length, even in high school and college, is usually 15 minutes. Teachers should assign content for homework. This is vital because students can access content via videos, hyperdocs, interactive PowerPoint slides, and much more. When students work on problems during class time in a flipped classroom model, they work on skills and applications in class. The teacher walks around the room and facilitates and helps each student as needed. Now, in a flipped classroom model, ideas to aid learning is several examples, but one I thought was interesting was peer tutoring. And peer tutoring is where the students that are advanced, they've already learned and mastered the content beforehand. They can work with students that are having a hard time completing the problems. So you can pair those individuals up, the advanced students, with the ones who are potentially struggling. That's just one idea, one aid to learning. And another idea about what does a flipped classroom look like? That is a good question. We could consider a traditional model versus a flipped classroom model. Traditional model, students are attending school. They're going to school, the content is delivered by the teachers, The student goes home and works on those problems and assignments. And then the flipped classroom is flipped. It's the students work on problems while they're at school, yes, and at home they study content online, usually video format, YouTube, and all those things we mentioned for review and further understanding. That's simply the flipped classroom. And there are tools that are utilized in a flipped classroom, like I mentioned, YouTube, podcasts, vodcast, social media, various devices, also Google Doc links and slides, and readings, of course, are highly recommended. Thanks for watching and listening to this presentation about a flipped classroom.